What's up, everyone? MK Tom Brady here. And behind me, we have the face of the biggest and most of the Just React Bro memes in all of Mortal Kombat 11. And it's time, boys. It is time to have that conversation. Time to ask the question, should Sub-Zero be nerfed in Mortal Kombat 11? So what I want to do is, I want to bring up some tweets here, starting with Biohazard. He says, I hope Sub dies in the next patch. Well, I don't agree with Sub dying in the next patch, but I think I, and just about everyone else, not only knows why he's saying this, we all agree with it. I mean, I don't think you'll find anybody out there, including myself, who disagrees with the reasons that he's tweeting this. And I'm glad he did. I agree with him 100%. And people have been tweeting things like this. While he didn't go into his reasons, people have been tweeting their reasons and things like this for the entire life of Mortal Kombat 11, like since day one of the game. And I think it's safe to say, like I said, everybody agrees with this. Then somebody posts in the same Twitter thread, although responding to somebody else, and the person he's responding to is basically saying, well, hey, it's not a problem, just pick this character or that character. And what he's saying is, hey, I disagree. Doesn't really matter what character you pick, or whatever individual meta you're trying to play, I guess, individual to that character. Sub-Zero just isn't a fun character to fight, which is true. And then he goes on to say that basically even players who play top 5 characters don't like Sub. It's not really about balance or skill, actually. Because right now, we don't really have an offline tournament scene in the times we're living in. So we have online tournaments and whatever. But if you're not fighting him in a tournament situation to where you actually have a choice and say, I will or won't fight against them, most of the time people choose, I don't really feel like fighting against them. Like in a lot of these exhibitions, it's very common to hear, no, I'm not fighting a Sub-Zero player. It's not about you don't think you're better than the player, not about the character you play, even if you're playing the best character in the game. It's just not fun. You don't want, no. And I think we can agree that he's probably the most triggering character in the game to fight against, just because I think everyone at one point or another has gotten triggered by getting a round stolen by forward 2 fatal blow. Then someone else chimes in, and the reason why I chose these tweets here is because they all basically represent different things that are all being said by pretty much everyone. He says, if I was going to remake any character, it'd be Sub. We hate fighting him. True. And Sub-Zeros aren't happy playing him. True. He's boring. A remake would be a win-win. And a lot of people have voiced this about a remake, a redesign. Deoxys has talked about this for quite some time, and just about everybody has in some way, shape, or form. So the thing with Sub-Zero is, he's pretty much like the crane kick in the Karate Kid. If played properly, there is no defense. In other words, if the Sub-Zero player is hot and just he can't guess wrong, there's really no defense for it. Not only that, even at mid-level, this becomes very, very effective. It allows a mid-level player, if the mid-level player is just hot and just guessing right a lot, it allows him to play 10 to 20 levels higher than his skill level should actually allow. And at higher levels of play, the mix is still there, but you don't even necessarily need it because of the mix. Sub-Zero gets a few other things opened up. Like, obviously you're trying to block the mix. He has the throw loop off his forward throw. He has staggers into mix, staggers into throw, stagger into backdash. You maybe stick a button out like a down one, you get punished. Stick a poke out, you get punished, etc. And I think people feel like, I wouldn't have stuck that poke out. I wouldn't have jumped here, mashed there, jumped over here, ducked at this point here, if I didn't think like, hey, if I stand here, eventually I'm going to get mixed, so I'm going to stick something out, or, I think a 50-50 is coming, so I'm going to stay blocking, and then he staggers into a throw, and then you throw looped, and then you try to stop the next throw, and then he opens you up with an overhead or a low, and then, or you get shimmied, and a lot of people feel like the 50-50, while that might not be the reason they got hit in that instance, that it's, the reason why I did this was because I was worried that, if I didn't do this, I was going to get opened up. So it doesn't really matter if you're playing at mid-level or the highest possible level. This character is extremely effective for pretty much all the wrong reasons. And if somebody says, why isn't he winning everything then? Well, at his core, technically he is unsafe, although, like I said, he can be played much safer than, it's led to believe. But ultimately, his design is just terrible, because in this game, zoning is not, in this game, what it was in games like MK9, for example. So his ability to slide under fireballs is much better. His ability to trade is even much better, especially since he has his enhanced ice ball or amplified ice ball, which just straight up eats your projectile completely. So if you choose not to try to keep him out with zoning, which is very, very hard to do, then you have the problem of then he gets in and mixes you. So you say, well, I don't necessarily want to zone him out, but then he gets in and I get mixed up. Just a really poor design. So really, what is the answer here? What is the redesign here? And this is the problem, because I do agree he needs a rework 100%. Someone else has a tweet here, and this again is, a lot of people feel this way. He says, as a sub main, I hate the mix too, but you can't nerf the only thing he does without replacing him with other stuff. He literally won't be able to play without it. And this is a great point, and this is true. Sure, the 50-50 needs to go. I think we all agree with this. But you can't just take it and leave him as he is, right? He needs something. Okay, you took the 50-50. Now, what does he get? And really, this is where the problem really comes into play here. Because people say, well, Sub-Zero has got legacy stuff. Why don't you give him those things? Like he's got, in MK history, his clone, which obviously you can't put in this game. Although even games that you could put the clone in, people would probably say they never want to see that move again because it slows the game down. People aren't really okay with the game being slowed down. He has his Ice Shower. I mean, Ed Boon hinted to the ability to add moves, right, if they wanted to. But again, Ice Shower, while it's not a clone as far as a physical object, and let's be honest here, clone wouldn't work in this game anyway. It just doesn't fit. It still acts similar in a way that it slows the match down. His Ground Puddle is really, really gimmicky. It's one of the biggest gimmicks in the game. It was thought to be really, really powerful, but upon looking at it, and breaking it down, it ends up being very gimmicky. It's not really hard to get around. There's almost no situation in which you're completely devoid of all resources where you can't get out of it. That's very, very rare to even have that situation in this game. Especially because the meter regenerates. So your ability to always have at least one resource is rare. But of course they could change moves. We've seen moves change. They changed how Cetrion's tornado worked in some ways. They buffed it up a little bit. And they could change the properties. They could make it blockable, make it a full combo punishable on block, make it like a low, and speed it up, considering you would take away the overhead. So it being a low would be, if it was like a 13 frame low, there'd be no mix, so there'd be no reason to even stand up anyway. And it would still be a good trapping move, and it wouldn't really be overpowered. Have it maybe go away on hit, stay on block. And it's a legacy move that could work pretty well, I think. But again, the problem is it slows the match down, And this is really where we're coming into the problem here for Sub-Zero. People are adamant the mix, it's a bad choice, it needs to be redesigned, but then they say can't have clone in any MK game anymore, can't have a usable ground puddle in any MK game anymore, and they feel like he can't have an ice shower in any MK game anymore. So he can't mix, he can't clone, he can't ice shower, and he can't ground puddle. By what the community wants, the really only thing to do is just never put Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat anymore. Because when they try to make him super offensive, they say, no, you know what, this is not really good. No, this mix has to go. And then when they make him to slow the match down and trap, they say, nope, we don't want to be trapped. We don't want the match to be slowed down. And this is really where the problem is. There doesn't seem to be able to be a compromise between the community and NRS. And even though NRS did redesign him from that character that's going to slow the match down into kind of like more of an offensive character, it just didn't really matter. Nobody cared. They say, you know what, doesn't really matter. I don't like this either. You know, so yeah, he's not slowing the match down, but now he's getting in and mixing, and that's not okay either. So either way, I would like to see something done. I would like to see a rework done. I'm not really sure what the right answer is here. In my opinion, I would take away the 50-50 and introduce maybe an ice shower, or maybe I would change his ground puddle a little bit. Ground puddle is my favorite move in all of fighting games. I think it's a really cool move. I fell in love with it back in MK2, and I would love to see it become usable in actual competitive play in a different form, different capacity than how it is now, because even in customs, it's kind of gimmicky. When it's usable, in that situation it's usable, it's very scrubby, and situations it's not usable, it becomes a gimmick. So it's scrubby 5% of the time and the gimmick 95% of the time. So, yeah. But I would like to see him turn into that character that can slow the match down and play a little more cerebral game, a little more mind games, a little more of a trapper. But that's just me. I'm just curious what all of you think. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Do you think he should be nerfed? Are you happy with how he is now? Just maybe kind of tone down what he is, but keep the 50-50, but tone him down in other ways. Do you think he needs a rework? And if you think he needs a rework, what would you like to see happen with him? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from all you guys. And yeah, I'm always curious to see what your guys' opinion is on all the topics that we talk about here. But as always, thanks for watching. This will be really curious to see what happens going forward in Ultimate. I do hope they rework him, though. I think we all feel the same way. But again, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate all the support. And stay tuned for more content. And don't forget, just react, bro.